What is going on, you guys? AK40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven, and if you remember a couple months back I picked up a couple limited edition discontinued Xbox One controllers, one of which was a Titanfall themed one, and it came in pretty poor condition. The thumbsticks are all gummed up and it's kind of just gross and not really as custom as I'd like my controllers. So I have an expert rating kit that basically has translucent thumbsticks as well as D-pad and face buttons, and then has LED changeable lights that you can map on the fly to shine through and give you that sweet RGB look. So let's install that now. Alrighty guys, over here at the Stormtrooper desktop, I'm going to go ahead and slide myself on in here. I have all the items I need. Controller, check. Little tool pouch for building controllers, check. I'll have a link in this to the description, link to this in the description below. Basically comes with like a little wedge that you can get in there to pop off these back panels, as well as a T8 and I believe a T11 screw in there, screwdriver. And then you have the actual kit is by Extreme Rate, which obviously makes a ton of really cool aftermarket components and accessories for controllers. This is the Xbox One controller down to fuck LED kit. I don't really know what DTF stands for, but probably not down to fudge. Made in China, so you know it's high quality. Let's go ahead and get an unboxing knife. You can use this bad boy here. See what comes in here. Kind of excited because I've done virtually every controller mod under the sun, you know, building custom controllers and having a side business selling one-off custom controllers. But I have never installed one of these before, so I'm very curious to see how the process goes. So you have your instruction manual here, which is color, very descriptive, excellent instruction manual, which is good because like I said, I've never done this before. You have the actual chip that needs to go on the board. I don't believe any soldering is required. I think that was one of the selling points, is that it's relatively easy to install, no soldering, which is good because my soldering iron's downstairs. You have extra T8 screws in here. You have your 1-year warranty on a cool little Game Boy. Then you have all the tools you need actually included in there, so I guess I don't even need this kit. I'll go fuck myself. And then you have transparent analog sticks, D-pad, and face buttons, and that's where the light's going to shine on through. So let's get all this out of the box and get started. Magic. Alrighty boys, come a little bit closer to Daddy. There we go, sit on the old lap. What do you want for Christmas? Ha! Alright, so first things first, I'll go ahead and take this little wedge here and remove the side panels here. Should be pretty easy. I've done this a million fucking times. Cool. Man, this controller is dirty as fuck. So this is also going to be a great time for me to take some Windex or all-purpose cleaner and just scrub the hell out of this controller. It was used, obviously, because this is discontinued. They haven't made this controller for a while. And when they did make them, they were sold very minimally. I don't think you could even buy this controller by itself. It was part of the Titanfall console bundle. So you are going to need to remove this sticker here. This does void your warranty, but who really gives a shit? If you did want to keep your warranty intact, try and keep this sticker in great condition so you can just replace it. But honestly, you know, if you turn in a controller that looks customized or modified in any way, they're not going to honor your warranty. But I don't really care about that. So let's go ahead and use our T8 screwdriver. Remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. You guys don't need to watch me do this. You've seen me do it before. I'll have links to my other custom controller builds in the description below, so you can gobble up my content. Alrighty boys, with those 5 T screws out, faceplate raises straight off, and I am going to be using all new hardware on the way in because I want to basically refurbish this controller to better than new condition because I plan on having it in the collection for a long time. These thumbsticks are very dirty, so I don't even know if I'm going to clean them or not because I have a ton of extra thumbsticks for my, you know, controller builds and whatnot. So these are probably going to go in the trash. Go ahead and remove the back shell. Screws falling out, sweet, sweet. Very basic back shell on this Titanfall controller, so I'm definitely going to be doing something with this. Probably hydro dipping. Just like a custom gear graphic on there, like some kind of badass, you know, steampunk design or something that goes with the mechanical theme of Titanfall. Anywho, go ahead and remove this. Get my thumbnail up under there. There we go. Get the old D-pad off there. Again, this is going to get cleaned and painted or hydro dipped. Probably hydro dipped. Alright, now, rumble force motors. I'm going to go ahead and remove these. Makes the controller much lighter, and you still have vibration functionality in the triggers, which actually give you more feedback anyway. These rumble force motors, they're just, I usually remove them when I'm building controllers anyway. They're super heavy. This is like a third of the weight of the controller right here, and honestly, you don't need vibration in the palms anyway. It doesn't really add to the immersion of the game, in my opinion. When you do remove the rumble force motors, if you do, that you pull out all the excess wiring and everything, just to kind of keep the inside of your build as clean as possible. Alright, so this is the trickier part of the build. You need to actually remove both of these chipsets here. I've done this dozens of times, but if you've never done it before, I'm going to go ahead and walk through it now. You have 2 screws that need to come off, and that'll remove the first chip. And you are using the smaller T-tool, so not the T8 that you use to remove the shell and faceplate, but this is, I believe, a T11 or 12 or 13 or one of those numbers. It's smaller. It's a very tiny tip, if you know what I mean. Alright, so once you got those out, you can just pry this up. Bam, that comes up, and you now have another, I want to say 5 of those small screws exposed and ready for removal. Hopefully you can see them in there. I have many videos on my channel building controllers, but in case you just stumbled across this, this is your first experience here on my channel, I'm going to kind of go through the steps of doing this from the jump. So the reason I'm taking off this chip is because I am going to need to install new face buttons, and in order to do that, you do need to remove both of the chips. Chips and dips. Now to remove the chip, you also will need to remove the center piece here, as well as the bumpers. They just pop right out. It is more difficult to remove on these older Xbox controllers, as they do have this little chin or little lip on there. Newer Xbox One controllers, so the S and the X, they do not have this little piece on there, this little center piece. They kind of did away with it, which I'm glad they did, because it's just kind of a bitch to deal with. Oh, also, yeah, push down the home button. That's a nice little pro tip. Push down the home button. That helps you to get this off easier. Sweet. Man, this thing is gummed up. I don't know who had this prior to me, but man, they did not treat this controller well, boys. But it's okay. It's been adopted, and Daddy's going to take good care of it. Once you have this chips off, there's a little rubber gasket in here. You pull that off. That holds all your buttons in place. Now you can turn it upside down, and all your face buttons and shit are just going to come plopping out. When I say face buttons, I don't just mean ABXY. I also mean the option and share button, as well as this is for your pairing on top, and yeah, basically all your face buttons. This part's a little bit tricky. You do need to fold back both these chips without ripping out any wires or anything, and we're going to go ahead and replace all the face buttons now. This long curved one is always the B button over here, and they can only go in one way. As you can see, there's these little plastic cutouts that only allow them to go into the right position, so you can't really fuck it up too bad. I mean, I guess you could if you tried to like force it in there or something. They also don't allow you to mix up the, I guess, start and select button on a PlayStation, or I guess the share and option button on a Xbox, because one has 3 prongs and one has 2, so you can't really fuck that up. It can only go in one way. So we're not going to worry about installing the analog sticks or the D-pad just yet. That can go on much later. We just want to go ahead and get this face buttons installed. This is a good time for me to clean out this gasket, as it is pretty gummed up with God knows what. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace that. Make sure I put the home button back in there. I'm going to be putting a nice translucent sticker over the home button today too, to add a little extra flair, a little extra pizzazz. So now we can put the bottom chip back down, and it will sit over that rubber gasket. Now you want to make sure that all your buttons are in there. Give them a couple presses to make sure that they are seated correctly before you start tightening down. And then I like to start with this screw over here on the left, because that actually does hold the buttons down in place. So you can give it a quick little test-a-rooney to make sure that everything is working as it should. If you have small hands, that does help working on controllers, as it is a lot of small screws and you know, tiny components and stuff, but, you know, I have average size hands and I have no real difficulty doing this shit, so if I can do it, you can too. The shit really isn't that hard. People are just scared to take controllers apart because they think they're going to break them, but you can't have that fear. Just get yourself a nice used $15 or $20 controller off Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or something. Buy it from some crackhead, don't get stabbed. And then take it apart. And, you know, if you break it, which you won't, but if you do, who gives a shit? It was like 15 bucks. I mean, that's like, you know, getting a meal at Five Guys. Alright, so let's make sure that... Oh, see, that's what I was talking about. Yep, see the A button there is all whoppy-jawed and not in there correctly. All the rest of them are really good. The B button's still going to be kind of spongy because the second chip is actually what holds that gasket in place. But all the other face buttons, you can test them out, and as I just noticed, the A button is not seated correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up and fix it real quick. Alright boys, next you want to put the power flux cable, which is like a very sensitive ribbon cable, into this port here labeled CN1. As you can see, this process is kind of a bitch from what I've heard and read, but you're just going to go ahead and plug this bad boy in there like this. Be very careful not to damage it. Alright, then once you get it in there, there's a little black tab there. You're going to push that forward and that kind of clamps it into place. That little black tab right there. Push it forward, it'll clamp it into place, and now we are golden. Next step, you want to bend it or run it basically up underneath like that. Come on girl, bam. Like that. Next you're going to go ahead and remove this adhesive tape on the back so we can stick it onto the chip. So I done dang fucked up. I had to reverse a step. You don't want the backboard actually bolted in because you are going to stick this bad boy to that to make sure everything lines up all hot and nice, and make sure that your little ribbon cable here, your power ribbon cable, is routed around the back like that. It's not the most like user-friendly kit or anything like that. It's definitely got some room for improvement. So a pretty weird step in this instruction manual in this process is they actually want you to fold up a piece of paper to wedge into your controller. So yes, you're going to have a permanent piece of parchment wedged in your controller. I'm going to go ahead and use the sticker that, you know, used to be the old warranty and information sticker. I'm just going to roll that up, and this is going to get wedged in there so it'll supposedly make it easier for you to make contact with power. Apparently. The second little small part obviously goes on the bottom chip because that's where your B button is or whatever. Now we need to take our power ribbon cable, and you are basically going to... Oh shit, I kind of stuck it under there, didn't I? Oh jeez. There we go. Now we're cooking with grease, boys. Alright, so you're going to wedge these up underneath the metal battery tongs, so you're going to need to kind of bend them forward a little bit and then wedge or pinch these underneath there so it gets power. Alright, gonna pull these bad boys forward and basically wedge these little power ribbons up underneath there. I don't think I'm gonna use the freaking paper tricks. I think that's kind of stupid. I don't want a random piece of paper inside of my fucking controller, so we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna go thug life with it. Tupac. Now you can go ahead and stick this little secondary piece on there like that. Oh god. Oh, I don't want to disconnect my work that I did over here with my batteries. Man, this is a real bitch of a process, even for somebody like myself that's built many custom controllers. Yeah, this is not an easy install. I would definitely give this like a, oh man, probably a 10 out of 10 for difficulty as far as like controller mods go. 1 being like putting on some thumb caps or, you know, putting on a sticker on your light bar cover, and 10 being like this, having your controller completely torn down. Not a good first mod if you're new to like custom controller building or even just, you know, customizing your own personal controllers, but you know, I'm a little bit more comfortable working on these things, but if this was like my first time taking apart a controller, this is extremely advanced, boys. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and run the cables for the analog sticks through the holes where the analog sticks are going to go, and then we're going to tuck these wires after we get the chip belted in. So you want to make sure you pinch your headphone jack if you have one right here. This one does not have a headphone jack because it is not an S or X controller. It's just a regular Xbox One controller, so they didn't have the 3.5mm headphone jack. They just had the stereo adapter to make you spend an extra 25 bucks on the adapter. But anyway, on the newer controllers, if you're doing this mod, make sure you pinch in between the two chips your headphone jack and then sandwich it in there, and it'll pinch it right on in there. Now for the thumbsticks, you do have some more 3M adhesive tape on there. You're going to stick that around the analog sticks, and then you're going to use either tweezers or this or what, dealer's choice, to tuck those wires back there around there so it's not catching up on your thumbsticks when you're trying to steer around. Alright, so we got the titty nipples all attached here for the analog sticks. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this tool here and just kind of go ahead and tuck these wires back into the shell a little bit so they're out of the way. You want to make sure when you're moving your analog sticks, you're obviously not catching up on anything, impairing your mobility, because hey, you don't ever want to trade performance for cosmetics. Not all show, no go. Not all flash, no dash. If you boys know what I mean. I'm about performance and cosmetics. I'm about form and function. So, looks pretty good, looks pretty good. You want to make sure you don't rip off any of those wires, obviously. Now let's go ahead and install these thumbsticks. Alright, so it is touching it a little bit. You can hear it there. It's a very unpleasant noise. I wouldn't want to hear that while I'm gaming, so I'm going to go ahead and move these a little bit more out of the way. You hate to see it, boys. You really do. So just putting this bad boy all together, I'm going to see if I can leave off this centerpiece and kind of leave the chips exposed there to kind of give it that nice, like, you know, exposed steampunk mechanical Titanfall kind of look to it. We'll see if that works. If not, I'll have to replace that little chin lipadooski. Alright, so let's get this bad boy bolted up and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to be a little bit upset because the installation process is quite a bitch, even for a straight up expert like myself. So first this did not work, but now we're cooking with bacon grease. You hold down the option button over there for 5 seconds and the lights pop on, and then you press menu and option button together, and that cycles through your different colors, as you can see. So I think what the issue was that the little ribbon cable wasn't making connection with the battery prongs properly. So yeah, there's a little flashing feature that's pretty disorienting. Pretty dope. So it's not like the brightest thing in the world, but I mean, for not having to solder anything or whatever, it's not bad, I guess. It is a real bitch to install, so I probably won't be using any more of these kits. I'll probably try and find an alternative kit. Actually, I even think that like soldering some LEDs onto the actual board would have been easier than using this kit. So let's go ahead and get the shell all bolted on there, and I can give you guys some final glamour shots. Alrighty, boys, this is the final product. Looks pretty fucking good in my opinion. I do think the controller looks a lot cooler without that chin splitter face piece on there, because it gives it more of that like exposed mechanical look, which is, you know, Titanfall-esque, so very nice. I love that color, very nice, but doesn't go with the theme very well, so I'd probably go with either red or maybe yellow. I wish they had orange because it's kind of an orange themed controller, but you know, whatever, probably red. Red's pretty dull though, it's not nearly as bright as the other colors, which is kind of shitty. Downside, sorry if there's wind noise, I have my ceiling fan on because it's hot as shit in here, but if you like to play wired because you're playing PC, which I like to do, you actually have to have batteries in there to get the lights to work, even if you are powered up through the USB cable, so that's kind of stupid. So not a huge deal if you're playing console because you need to be plugged up anyway, but or not plugged up, you need to be wireless anyway, but you know, for PC where I generally play wired, the lights will not work unless I pop the batteries in as well, but once you do have the batteries in there as well as the power cable, you can get your lights working, which is pretty nice. Bam. Sweet. Rock on, boys. So besides the price, which was, I think this was like 30 bucks, 25, 30 bucks, pretty expensive, and the sheer difficulty of installation, the fact that you do have to have batteries in there even if you're wired up, and also just the general build quality doesn't feel very good. I also don't like the way the face buttons look. They're just like this plain design. I wish they had like a label for ABXY on there, or maybe some cool, you know, logos on there or something like that. Thumbsticks don't feel too great. D-pad feels alright, but the thumbsticks definitely don't feel very good. So, and if you put caps on them, you're only going to be getting light through the bottom section. Obviously the tops of them are going to be covered, but just things to keep in mind. So honestly, I mean, not a great LED kit, but there's really not any other options when it comes to an Xbox One LED RGB multicolor kit that doesn't require soldering. But it's still so difficult that I don't even think soldering would have been that much more difficult of a process. But it does look good, and I'm glad I installed it. I do love a challenge, and I think it looks really good. And you know, this is probably going to be lit up in the background during my intro videos and stuff, so it'll be kind of a decorative piece more so than anything. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions about the installation process or any questions about the kit itself, just drop it in the description below or the comment section, and I will get back to you guys ASAP Rocky. All right, guys, have a good night. Peace.